Hello, everyone. Welcome to mine and Katie's LinkedIn Live today. We are so excited to be here to talk about how to build a fully aligned career so you are living in line with your values and enjoying your work every day. So, thank you so much for being with me here, Katie. We are going to dive deep into this topic. You specialize in helping high performers, so I'm so excited to do this with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we will dive into this topic.
Hey everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Lori. It's great to be here. So I'm Katie Culver. I am a career coach and mindset mentor, and I specialize in helping high achievers who are typically unsatisfied generalists. They're like overwhelmed by too many options, get the clarity and confidence that they're looking for to transition to a more energizing career. And I'm excited about this topic because feeling in alignment, feeling excited about the work we're doing is affects literally every part of your life. So it's an important topic.
I totally agree. Yeah. And like one of the most important things to my clients too is that they're able to feel aligned with like their boss and the culture that they have too. That values alignment really helps on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Um, because then they're able to like be themselves. Like that's a really good way to put it. Is just 100% be themselves, not feel like they have to be someone that they're not to fit in. So I just wanted to add that because that's one of the things my clients
Yeah,
frequently prioritize as well.
totally. Someone said they can't hear anything.
Yeah,
Katie, can you hear
Heidi,
us now?
try refreshing the page. Both of us aren't on mute, so try refreshing. Let us know if you still have issues. Thank you so much for letting us know. So one of the questions that we talked about is kind of like why someone wants an aligned career and like what aligned means for them, because burnout frequently comes from that misalignment. So, what do you like? What kind of questions do you help people go through to answer that question and create that clarity?
Yeah. I think oftentimes the conversation around career clarity is just like, well, what job title do I want next? And it's just so surface level. In reality, it's so helpful to understand, well, what is the work? What is the environment that you need to thrive? And the reason why I say I like to help people build energizing careers is because I believe that work exists to fuel your life, to drive your energy, not to drain it.
Mm,
And when you start to, like, one of the first things they do with folks is an energy audit to really figure out, based on the day to day activities in your life, not just professionally, but personally as well, what gives you energy and what drains your energy, and
yeah,
continue to optimize for those aspects of work that give you energy, give you life. And oftentimes you find people used to have that zest for work. They're excited to get up in the morning, excited about what's on their calendar. And maybe the role has shifted, the company environment, the team has changed, and that energy isn't there anymore. And so
yeah.
that's really the first step. I don't want to drain it. There's many other questions, but that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like aligning your life with, or your career, I should say, with the life that you want, right? If
Yeah.
you if you want to be able to travel freely, like on the move all the time, right? That's going to look your career is going to look different to achieve that lifestyle. Whereas if, you want to settle down, have kids with a partner, live in one area, have like really meaningful long-term relationships, be able to get together in person with people, have like the same restaurants you go to regularly, like, right? Those are completely different lifestyles and goals. And so you want to get a job, get a culture that's going, and flexibility that will allow you to, and structure that will allow you to get to that lifestyle. A lot of the time
Right.
people say they want a certain lifestyle, but then they're like, they say they want this kind of career. It's like, okay, well, sometimes you can do both, but you you do need to like compromise in some areas depending on what it is that you're looking for, because otherwise then it can be difficult to
Hmm.
align yourself with one thing and the other. So that's just
Yeah.
one thing to like keep in mind when you're going through that process, because a lot of the time if you're if you have such contradictory goals, then it can be difficult to make sure all of that is working together.
Right. And I think it's important to think about the life part first.
Mhm.
Oftentimes people are like, well, I don't really know exactly what I want my career to look like. But when you sit down and think about it, like I love to use the 5 year horizon because it's far enough away that a lot can change in 5 years, but also close enough to imagine. And so if you really think about like, what do you want your life to look like, feel like? What kind of results outwardly do you want to have created in your life in 5 years? You can sort of back into and see very clearly what you value, whether that's the flexibility, stability, some level of financial freedom that's going to unlock things in your life. And then you can back into the career elements of like what type of career environment work do you need to fuel the life that you want to live. And I think where people often go wrong as well is like, well, your values and your priorities are going to change. And so right now, maybe you want to optimize for this freedom and travel, but when you want to have a family and settle down, you don't care about that anymore. And you're ready to optimize for flexibility or for stability instead of flexibility.
Mhm.
And it's all about being honest with yourself and recognizing that your career is kind of like a canvas for you to create. It's not set in
Mhm.
stone once you pick one path. When you learn the skills of positioning yourself and making changes, it all just opens up so many doors.
Yeah, I was talking to my husband recently because he was talking to a coworker. She's 23 and she was like stressing out because she didn't know what she wanted to do with her life at that age. And I'm like, it's totally okay to not know what you want to do with the rest of your life at 23. Like, even at 30 or 40 or 50, right? Like, you still have so many years. And it's okay to want different things at different parts in different stages in your life, so you don't have to have, like one career your entire life. I feel like that's a mindset that is instilled in us from like the 60s, which is like over 50 years
Yeah.
ago, if you think about it now. And like people went to college, had like you get this degree, you stay in that career path your entire life, and that's what you do. Like, but the world, it changes at such a fast pace. Like if Sheryl Sandberg had done that, she would never have been at Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
oh, right? Like the world's changing at such a fast pace and we have to change with it. And it's totally okay for you to want different things at different parts in your at different stages in your life. So it's one of the things that I like to talk to people about is like, well, I have this degree, but like I can't seem to get like into these types of roles. It's like that's okay. Totally fine.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want, not just what are your credentials, right? Because you can always upskill, you can always get another certification if you want. And if you desire different things after a certain amount of time, you can do that. There are so many resources. Like the internet is a thing. Right? There's so many options, there's so many people to talk to. Knowledge is constantly at our fingertips. If you want to make a change, and something is feeling out of alignment, and you can go get it. You really, really can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of finding the right information and the right path to get you there.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to get to know yourself in this process and kind of see career change as I like to tell my clients, like, it's an invitation to grow. It's really scary if you view it as like this huge shift and transition that I don't know how to navigate. It's more like an invitation to get outside of your comfort zone, to get to know yourself and really be honest. Like the clarity comes from being honest about what isn't working. And when you have that deeper, I call it purpose, which is really like your deeper why of like, why
Right.
do you want this type of career? Not just what job title sounds good, but what is that going to unlock for you in the life that you want to build, in, the lifestyle that you want to have in the day to day of the work. And then when you have that deeper purpose, you can figure out how to do it. You can go and talk to the people who are doing the role and figure out how you need to upskill. You can learn how to position yourself and craft the story that's going to connect your now and your next.
Yeah.
And it's almost like people don't spend the time to really ask themselves what they want. And oftentimes I find are blocked because they have an idea of what they're looking for, but they don't think it's possible because there's
Hmm.
this limited mindset. And so it really is about aligning yourself with the mindset of, I'm fully capable of achieving whatever I put my mind to. And I'm going to go find other people who figure this out already and ask them how they did it and learn from them. So I'm really passionate about helping people get through those mindset blocks to see themselves in a new light and step outside of their traditional path that's no longer working for them.
Yeah, I love that. One of those things that really stood out to me. I was talking to this person recently who became a client, and she's older in her 60s, wants to like retire soon, but she's super bored. Like she's been doing the same work for a really long time, but she wants something that is more challenging for her because she's an assistant, like an executive assistant. But like she's been on boards, like as an executive assistant, like her level of knowledge of companies like is to that level that she's able to advise. And
Mm-hmm.
so like she just wants something like long term that is aligned with her why, but she also wants something that is challenging, and you can have both, right? And another thing, like in regards to like the why, is you can have a why for your life and a why for your career and still align them if they're different
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Like what's my
Yeah.
why for my life, like my entire life, and like what do I want to experience, what do I want my lifestyle to be, and then what's my career why, and how do I achieve both of those and align them so I'm getting it all and having it all, because
Yeah.
it's absolutely possible.
Yeah, I think the having it all is an interesting one because I hear this a lot from people of like, I'm making them maybe like they've spent the beginning of their career really optimizing for salary growth, income growth,
Mhm.
and which is super valid. Like you're learning as you go, you're optimizing to have that financial security. And then once you have it, and maybe you're no longer feeling super challenged by the work or the lifestyle or the, hours or whatever, just not fitting with the type of freedom that you want to have to spend with your family or friends or whatever, then you start to think, okay, well, is it possible for me to get this amount of money elsewhere and be fulfilled by the work? And I've worked with so many people who just kind of see that as work is going to be a grind, it's got to suck, and that's kind of just how it's going to be.
Mhm.
And it's helpful to shift to the mindset of like, you get to create the experience that you want. And there is a world in which you can get paid amazingly, love the work that you're doing, and have a life outside of work. It's not a pipe dream.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Um, and some of the things that I hear sometimes is like, well, I'm, like I have a job because I need to make ends meet, and that's totally fine. Like, obviously, ultimately, like that's what we have to do for most middle income people. But if you do want more than just making ends meet, then there are steps that you can take. You can live an aligned life. You can be in a role where you feel aligned with your values, aligned with the culture. You can live a life where your career aligns with the lifestyle that you want outside of work, that it's supporting that in the first place. It is
Yeah,
absolutely possible.
I think one of the things I often tell this to clients is, people come in with ideas about what is or isn't possible or the way in which they're going to have to approach it. And I always say, challenge your assumptions. What are you assuming right now? And can you challenge those assumptions? And what could be more true or more possible? And most people are sitting there with all these assumptions about how things work that are just not true and haven't really tested them to try to see, what if I break this rule that I've mentally created about how things should work in my work life? And a
Yeah,
lot can unlock when
absolutely.
you do that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's so many limiting beliefs that we have that sometimes we don't even know are there. We're just like going through the same motions based on these things that we were told about how life operates.
Yeah,
And that might have been how life operated a long time ago, or how life operated for your parents or, mentors, whoever it was that like where that belief came from or who that belief came from. And most of the time, like people are placing their own beliefs onto other people because that's what they've seen has worked for them. But it doesn't mean that
right.
that's what works for you. It's just their belief about what's enabled them to be successful. But if your success is defined differently than another person's success,
Right.
then you're going to have to take different steps than they did. You can't follow the same advice if you want
Right.
something different. And a lot of the
Yeah.
time, like, even if they're saying, like, I have this lifestyle, you want the same lifestyle, like, well, what is different about those two lifestyles? Like, do you actually want like the same number of kids they have? Do you want to live in this same location? Like, think about every single way that you're a little bit different, and you'll be able to figure out like, oh, well, maybe that piece of advice actually doesn't align if you're able to
Mm,
like identify what it is that you really want, and you can create, and if you have that clarity. One of the like big words that I really loved from our outline for this discussion was the word courage.
mm,
Because I think a lot of the time, people think of courage as like not having fear, but it's the opposite. Courage
yeah.
happens when you act with fear. Like you all like you're feeling it, you're feeling the fear, but you're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty hard to just like completely let go of any anxiety, any fear about or uncertainty, feeling like those types of feelings. Like you can't expect to just not be scared. Like you're gonna have to be scared while you're doing it. Like your growth happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. I know that's kind of like
Yeah.
a trope that that coaches talk about a lot, but
It's
it's
true.
absolutely true. Like I'll talk to people and they're like, but I'm so scared to do this. Like, and it seems like other people, this is just so easy for them. I'm like, it's like maybe it's easier, but they're still doing it when they're scared. Like
Yeah.
all of the people that you've ever seen that are successful, Mark Cuban, I mentioned Sheryl Sandberg, Ellen DeGeneres, Steve Jobs, like all of these people failed. All of these people learned. All of these people failed along the way on their path, and their lives have not been perfect. Like they acted many times and failed many times and had fear when they were doing these things and took the steps anyways. And that's where courage exists, is feeling fear and taking the steps anyways and moving forward anyways and trying.
Yeah. I always think it's funny because it's like courage is required to step outside of your comfort zone. And I like to think of it literally like your comfort zone is a circle and the courage is like, the expansion. And by definition, when you're being courageous, you are uncomfortable. You are in the discomfort
Yeah.
phase until you then expand your comfort zone over time.
Yeah.
And I actually just had a really amazing conversation with a client about this because he's making a really big career pivot and kind of got clarity on here's my longer term vision. Here's really where I want to be in my career. And I said, well, why not really go for it? Like, I believe you can do it. I give you permission to fully go all in on this path that you want to make this big pivot. And we just had this conversation around reframing rejection. And because inherently courage, you're doing things outside of your comfort zone. It's not like you just said, there's going to be failures, there's going to be setbacks, but it's almost like choosing to see that those rejections and those failures are a reminder that you're one of the brave ones who are willing to go after what you want. And you wouldn't even be facing them if you weren't in the arena. And so we had this conversation around identity of like, if you're courageous, you're going after what you want in your career, you're stepping outside of this normal path, like you're in the arena, you're brave, you are taking courageous action and being intentional. And that is something to be proud of.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think we align like the word proud with being scared.
Mm,
Hardly at all, right? You should absolutely be proud of yourself if you're in a place where you're taking action when you're feeling scared. Like that is a place to be proud of yourself for sure, because
yeah.
you're moving forward and taking risks that you wouldn't have otherwise. The pride doesn't only have to happen when you succeed at something or when you never fail. And that's a huge misconception and belief that like
Mm,
we're only allowed to celebrate ourselves when other people celebrate us or when something is done perfectly. Like you have to find joy in the journey. You have to find small successes along the way where you've improved, where you're growing, where you're getting out of your comfort zone, even just a little bit, because all of that is growth. Every single step, it's
yeah.
growth.
Yeah, in any sort of transition, like it's really easy to see, there's a book called The Gap and the Gain, which is like very popular among entrepreneurs. by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Martell. But it's like focusing on, it's easy to focus on the gap of like, well, I want to be in this new job and this new path, and I'm not there yet. And it's really important to train yourself to focus on the gain of how far you've come, how much you've grown, how, how many connections you've made, and the conversations where the measurement of success isn't just the outcome, it's the growth, the learning, the evolution that you're having along the way, and celebrating that and really allowing yourself to, like you said, find joy in that journey, even though you're not all the way done with the transition yet.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Had another thought that just escaped me. So you mentioned core steps to shift and get back into alignment. I feel like that is a great like ending like note. We have a few more minutes. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the way that I think about kind of approaching transitions and approaching career change is there's kind of like three main phases that I work with folks on. And the first piece we've talked about already is like the clarity of getting to know yourself. You can't build something that's aligned with you if you don't really know what you want or what you're looking for. And so it's really important to not just focus on energy, like that's a huge part that we talked about. Really think about your strengths, your weaknesses, where you find flow, what you're interested in, what excites you, you're curious about, and start to like brain dump all of that. And then you can find the common threads and common themes and say, well, how might this show up in a specific role or a specific company stage or an industry environment, etc. And then you can kind of go wide, brain dump, and then narrow down. And that clarity is really important to know your direction. And it's okay if it takes conversations and research. It's not going to hit you in a lightning strike of thinking about it. It's about getting enough to take action and refine, which I think is where a lot of people go wrong. And so knowing what is aligned for you is a first step. And then what's really important for people that unlocks that it's actually possible is crafting your personal brand, crafting your positioning and your story that connects. Here's where I want to be. Here's this aligned career with where I've been in the past. And, depending on how much of a change that is, it's easier or harder to craft that story. And then it's all about how do you stand out to the opportunities that are aligned for you, and only focusing, this is like one of the hardest parts, is only focusing your time and effort on the opportunities that are aligned with your vision. Otherwise, you spend all this time waffling about, is it really this path? What if I go in this direction? And it's not effective. And I think that causes people to give up on what they see as their originally aligned career path, because it's not working when you have an ineffective strategy. And so it's all about staying focused on that vision and standing out to those aligned opportunities. And rather than saying, hey, is this possible for me? You're asking questions of how do I make it happen? How do I go outside of the box to get noticed? How do I bring more value to the process? And so anyways, that's some of the steps in terms of actually building that aligned career and making the change.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for being here with me, Katie, and for those amazing tips. I'm so glad we were able to do this together. For anyone who has questions after, feel free to put them in the comments, or if you'd like to DM either of us, we are here on LinkedIn daily, so we will do our best to answer your questions. And I am currently offering free networking scripts for those in your job search, or free career strategy calls for anyone who is trying to create that aligned career where you want that clarity, you want something that is fulfilling, that's aligned with your values. So pop in the comments job if you are interested in either of those. So networking scripts or free career strategy call, whether you're looking for internal promotion, you're currently employed, or on the job search, and I'd be happy to send those over. Katie, anything you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This time like flew by. I feel like I could talk about this all day, but if you check out my profile, it seems aligned with what you're looking for, just DM me and we'll have a little bit of chat of where you want to go and help see how we can get you there. So feel free to reach out if anything resonates with you. This was an amazing conversation. I hope this is inspiring more people to take the action they need to build that fully aligned career.
Agreed. Thank you so much, everyone who joined us. We will see you all on LinkedIn. Bye, guys.
Thank you.